welcome to the 22nd episode of the Static Traveller podcast, the podcast where I speak to travellers of the past and the present from around the globe. Now, this week's guests on the Static Traveller are travel couple Olivia and Alvaro. She is from England, he is from Spain. How did they meet? Watching, you'll find out. But sit back, relax, enjoy, and remember, hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell button and you'll get a notification every time I put up a new episode. Thanks. Sit back, relax, enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Static Traveller with me, James. Thank you for joining me.
No problem.
So, for anyone who's watching and hasn't seen you guys before, why don't you tell them just a little bit about you individually, a wee bit of background, and then we can hop on the travel stuff.
Sure. Do you want me to start? All right. So I'm Olivia. This is Alvaro. So we met back in 2016, summer 2016, so 4 years ago. Whilst we were both working in finance in London. We did that for 3 years and sort of like muddled, well, we were working in finance for 10 years, but 3 years since knowing each other. And yeah, we just both were in the same sort of situation that we weren't really like motivated by our jobs. We just didn't feel really, really good in what we were doing. So we decided, well, let's quit, sell all of our stuff, and we will go and travel full time with no real plan. I think we always thought like, oh, and probably like we'll realize on the way, like maybe a different industry that we want to go into or something like that. But I think our idea was probably that we would come back to London and go back to like corporate. But yeah, sort of in January, then we had this like epiphany moment whilst we've been traveling 3 or 4 months by that point. But yeah, we just figured like we could make it work online. So we started running an online business back in January, and then had to come back from our travels early because of the pandemic anyway.
Alvaro?
Yeah, it's similar. Well, I'm from Spain, so I came to London in 2011, previous economic crisis, just trying to, it was a very difficult situation in Spain at that point, so I was just trying to find a job and, just try to get a career outside my country. And luckily, I quickly learned English because when I arrived to London, I couldn't speak English, not even one word. So learned English quickly and then was really lucky. I was really lucky and I got a job in finance. So started my career in finance from the bottom and slowly got a couple of promotions and then got a couple of new jobs. And then, back in 2016, met Olivia. And instantly we both knew that what we were doing, it wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It was like a slow burn. And then after like few things that probably happened with Olivia's job and my job, we decided just to take the leap. Just as she said, we sold everything, save everything that we could, and started traveling. And unfortunately, we had to come back in March 2020, but we had 7 months of traveling, which was actually amazing.
Yeah, and it's not over yet. We're just waiting to go back out.
So, how did you guys meet?
We met through an app called Happen, like, which is very popular in London. Actually, most of our friends, they met through apps, dating apps. So
the thing is, I was just saying this. I was speaking to another travel couple yesterday, and even ones further back, majority of travellers that I speak to have all met through dating apps, that kind of thing. Must be something in the DNA.
Yeah, I just think, to be honest, like in London, London is like one of those cities that is like so big. It's difficult to meet people. It's difficult to maintain things as well. And this app specific, I don't even know 4 years later if it's still around. I know there's more popular ones now, but this was kind of like the second popular app after Tinder. But it was based on like who you walk past. So Alvaro was working around like 300, 400 meters away from me. So our offices were really, really close. So it was literally just like, you've crossed paths with this person 20 times this week.
It's really quite cool.
Yeah. So we knew that we would like be able to meet each other because we knew we were all close by. So we met then. We started dating and then moved in together. And then the rest is
and
history.
are you guys, I know like you say, you guys have a podcast as well. So when you were stranded from travelling, you didn't really have your own place to go, so you came back and Olivia, you were saying with your dad at the time.
My dad,
both of us, sorry, both of you, were staying with your dad, and you were living in his attic. How was that? How did you go? How did you find that? Going from anywhere that you wanted to the attic.
Yeah, well, you just hit the nail on the head. You go from like the ultimate freedom that you've ever had. Like, we've never felt so free in our lives, which is why we changed everything about our lives when we traveled. And then to come back, not only to live in your dad's attic, but also we flew in on the day before Boris Johnson announced lockdown. So we literally had like 12 hours where we quickly like went to like a few shops just to get like a few of those like home comforts, and then bam, just add out, what was it, for 30 minutes a day exercise. It was difficult. We were there for like 3 months.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was, as Olivia said, we were in Cambodia at the time, just by the beach, having some cocktails, and then 48 hours after, we're in lockdown in an attic in London, and I think it was raining at that point. So it was like, we got everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. But then we were really grateful as well, because we actually had the chance to stay with your dad, with Olivia's dad, and then we had the chance actually to start like building the online business that all we wanted to build.
Yeah.
So we're actually really lucky that we had something to do.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine if we went into lockdown 3 months or 4 months and we had nothing to do. I cannot imagine we could have done, but we were lucky enough that we were actually at that point building an online business. So the only thing that we had at that point was time to carry on.
Yeah, things just escalated so fast. Like so around 4 days before we flew back to the UK, we had a phone conversation with my dad, who had been like, you need to come back. And we were just sort of, because in Cambodia, there's never been, in theory, so many cases, and we just didn't really have the perception of what was really happening at home in terms of like how scared people were, how fast things were escalating. So we were very much like, nah, it's fine. Like, this is all a big overreaction. Like, we're just going to stay here in Cambodia. Like, if we need to stay here for a month, we'll just find an apartment for a month. And then it'll be fine. We'll be able to carry on our travels. And so we were very much like, oh no, we're not coming back. And then around 2 days later, we saw that like governments, like Western governments, had started calling their citizens back, and we just didn't want to be in a situation that we couldn't get back if we wanted to be. We were like, oh, this is like, we just didn't ever expect that to happen. So that was really the thing that moved the dial. We were like, wow, if they're calling people back that you're not supposed to be traveling at all, we'd probably go back. We just felt quite anxious and nervous about the whole situation. And obviously, being in a country where tourists, like, it was empty, there was no tourists really. It really felt like things were just getting worse. We felt anxious, and we just thought like, okay, well, better to feel better and go home and just wait it out. Of course, we didn't know how long we were going to be home, but yeah.
So while going back a wee bit there, so while you guys had ambitions to work in the financial industry or any industry at all, and the fact that you had a real aim of climbing that ladder, the corporate ladder, travel, is that something that you discovered and then decided that you wanted to do, or is it something that was always with you that you just, kind of put to the back burner? And
You always wanted to travel, right?
Yeah, for me, I think we probably have different stories on this one, but for me, it was I wanted to go before university, and that just didn't happen. So I was like very sure that I was going to go after university, take that gap year at the age of 21. No, 21, yeah. And basically what happened was I had spent most of my time at university working in a bar, having a really great time, and I wasn't particularly studious, and I hadn't done like a lot of extracurricular stuff that was going to allow me to stand out. So my mum was very much like, look, Olivia, I of course go traveling, but first like just do an internship or something so that you have something on your CV so that you kind of stand out when you go to apply to the graduate jobs when you get back from traveling. I really didn't want to do it, but I applied for an internship, and I remember my mum's partner saying to me, just apply for the internship anyway. It's not like you're going to get it. It's in a really big, like a big corporate in London. You're not going to get it anyway, but it will just like make your mum happy, you know, just to show her that you're putting in the effort. So I applied for the internship. And I guess fortunately, because I'm very, very grateful for the career path that place took me, I got that internship. That internship turned from a 3-month internship to a 6-month internship to a full-time career, which ended up being a 6-year stint in that specific company.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved working in that place. I was there for 6 years, and then I did like a 2-year stint somewhere else before we left to go traveling. But that was always really with me. It was like this, I've always wanted to travel. Like, I did like a 3-week trip to South America with a friend back in 2015, I think, where we literally did like 4 countries in 3 weeks. And it was a really fleeting tour because we couldn't take off. I mean, I had to write a letter to my boss's boss to ask for 3 weeks off. So I really wanted to do it. And I just knew that I would never have the opportunity unless we just bit the bullet and did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me it was a bit different. The concept of like a gap year in Spain is something that we don't consider. Probably now young generations probably they start doing that, but when I was 20 years old, I never heard of a gap year. I never heard of that. So you finish university, you got an internship, then you get a job, and then buy a house, have a family. And
so you were a bit different, Alvaro, weren't you? So you left Spain when you were 25, is that right?
Say again?
You left Spain when you were 25, is that right?
Yeah, because my bachelor's degree was 6 years. So by the time I finished, I was 24. Yeah, so roughly, I left Spain when I was 24. Tried to find a job in Spain for a few months. Couldn't find it, obviously. Yeah. And then that was the reason why I came, one of the reasons why I came to London.
So how did you find that, at that stage of your life, changing where you live, uprooting everything, leaving family behind? I know you came over with a friend, didn't you? You didn't come by yourself.
Yeah, so it was tough, but I was lucky enough that I was with one of my best friends, and then both of us were really driven. And then he was working in a bar, I was working in a shop. So it was, you are 24 years old or 25 years old, you are in London. It was really fun. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything. It was really fun. We were living in probably one of the houses that we lived. We were sharing the house with 14 other people, 2 bathrooms. So it was challenging. I'm not gonna lie, but it was really fun at the same time. London is a great city. And coming from Spain and being in a city that you're surrounded by hundreds of people coming from different places, it was super fun.
And what was your biggest challenge during that move? Because I know you said about the language, but what was your biggest challenge? Was it the language? Was it a different way of life? Was it?
It was mainly the language at the beginning. So the first few months was tough because I couldn't understand anything. And it's in Spain they teach us how to say things, but then they don't put it in practice. And then you have a teacher with speaks English with a Spanish accent. And then you come to the Gatwick airport, and the police officer is talking to you, and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. So that was a shock. That was a real shock. But the good thing of London is that you have people from everywhere. So they understand what you are going through, because they probably went through the same.
Yeah.
I had like really good friends. One of my best friends is from Pakistan. Then I met people from France, from Germany, and it was really easy to learn English through them more than other things. And also, it was more the life. I have a really comfortable life back in Spain. I was living with my parents. The food was on the table. The clothes were ironed. I didn't do a laundry before. It was like classic things, like things just, they appear in my wardrobe, and everything is ironed and everything smells nice, and you don't need to cook or to do anything. And then suddenly, out of the blue, you're in a random country, in a random city, and you need to do all those things. And on top of that, you need to have fun. So
and you and Lewis were sleeping in bunk beds, right, at some point?
Yeah, we were sleeping in bag beds as well. So we had no space, and yeah, it was really fun. We had just enough space for to put our luggage. It was a small wardrobe and bag bed, and that's it. That's what we had.
So are you Real Madrid or are you Barcelona?
I'm Barcelona supporter right now.
Right now,
let's see until we see what Messi is doing. But right now, I'm Barcelona supporter.
So you're a Messi Messi supporter or a Barcelona supporter?
Yeah.
No,
I'm Barcelona supporter, but we'll see.
So you guys packed in your jobs. Talk us through that. How did you get to that point? Because there'll be a lot of people that may watch this and say they want to do the same. But how do you take that step? How do you decide, right, okay, we're selling everything, we're packing up, and not even that, how do you justify it not only to yourselves but to, for example, family? So I'm sure that your dad probably had something to say about it,
Yeah, I mean, I think the family, it was different. Family members react in different ways, right? I think mums in general were like, yeah, this is a cool thing to do. Like, and dads are a bit more like, what are you doing? Like, what about your careers and like stability and all of that stuff. But I think we really got to that point. Like, me personally, I was on like the same, like, okay, 2 different companies but similar job for 2011 to 2019, so 8 years, 8.5 years. And I think when you're doing something which, like, I really liked some, like, my colleagues and the company, and I liked my work, but I wasn't passionate about it. Yeah. And I think you get to a point where you just start questioning, like, do you really want to do something every single day that you're not passionate about? On top of that, there were, and I think this is applicable for both of us, like, things with like office politics and certain things that were happening that, you just come home from work. At the end of the day, you're pretty damn miserable, and you're only on this planet once, right? You only get the opportunity to do that once, and you don't want to be in a situation that you retire when you're 65. At least we don't. That we're in a position that we retire 65 or probably 70 by the time that we get there, and think, I spent my entire life like going to an office where I'm just not happy, and coming home in the evening feeling miserable just for the sake of money, or chasing a certain life that I think we've all been preconditioned to think is the right thing. Yeah. And I really question that mentality that we have in Western society, that's what life is about. I'm all for people, like, if someone's happy in their job and their job fulfills them, that's amazing. And I just believe that everybody should understand that that's not the only way, that there are several ways that you can live. And I think it was like, we didn't understand that when we quit our jobs. We got to a point of say, like, just misery, that we didn't want to put up with it anymore. But that's kind of what we've learned since being on the journey.
And it was also, we tick all the boxes. So all the boxes that we had to tick, we ticked them. So we went to university, we got grades, we got a good job, we were in a decent position with decent salaries, and then it's like, what is next? So next is like, you need to buy a house. No, that's what society tells you. Like the next step is buy a house, which in London is impossible. But anyway, you buy a house outside London. But then we were like thinking, why do we need to do these things? Why we don't take that money that we could actually buy a house right now? And we just not buy a house, but we can just put the deposit down and we just use it for something else. And then, you know, a house, you can always buy a house or not buy a house, but you will always have that opportunity. But I'm 34, Olivia is 31. The opportunity to travel the world is once in a lifetime. And we didn't want to be in a situation like many people, like, you know, doing plans when they want to retire. And then, and I saw that in my country, you know, people planning, and then you have an economic crisis in 2008, literally wipes out the economy. You lose your house, you lose your savings, and then all those years of working and planning, they are gone. And it's something that I saw in like many people going through that period of time in 2008, 2010 in Spain. So that has made us question, like, why do we need to do what everyone is telling us to do when that actually doesn't lead you to the life that you're supposed to have?
Yeah, and I think, you know, like, I look back on that and I'm so glad that we made the decision to do what we've done, because it's changed our life and our perception on life in so many ways. But if I compare like what you can do with the money for the house deposit or what you can do in terms of traveling with that money, to me the experiences, they don't even compare. Like, what's a house? You know, a house in the UK, we think of it like this investment. It's bricks and mortar. Like it's not an investment. It's hard to sell. You probably always want to, you know, change every couple of years, and it's very expensive. You're paying taxes, you're paying stamp duty, all of this stuff. It's an absolute pain. And for that money, we had like life-changing, for a fraction of that money, I should say, we had life-changing experiences, saw places that we had never seen before. And I think the thing that really changes, a friend asked me, like, what's the difference? Yeah, but I've been to that country. What's the difference between you going there on full-time travel or me going there on holiday? And it's really that feeling of freedom, I think, of not having that ticket to go home, and knowing you can go where you want, when you want. If you fancy changing your route, you can do that. You don't check your emails, you know, on your phone. You just don't have any of that external stress of worrying about what's going on at home. You're always connected to home when you're on holiday in that sense. And that's why I think full-time travel is completely different. And I think that's the reason it's changed us so dramatically, is because of the feelings and experiences and the things we saw whilst traveling as well. Gave us a really different perspective. When you're traveling in some of, you know, the poorest countries in the world, it really, really makes you question, I think, a lot of things about the way that we live.
So when you decided between yourselves that you were going to, you know, pack everything in and go travelling, did you have the idea already of this is what we want to do, we want to set up our own business, we want to do it this way? Or did you have to then sit and then brainstorm and get to a point where you were comfortable to then, you know, leave your jobs to then go travelling?
Yeah, so we didn't have any idea that we wanted to start an online business. Both of us had always talked for a couple of years, like at some point we'd like to, you know, be entrepreneurs and have a business. But when we left our jobs, we did that based off savings. So the money that we would have been putting towards, you know, that house deposit for that unachievable goal of having a house in London, we used that money to travel. So we were able to you support ourselves comfortably for, I would say, a year is what we had budgeted for, maybe a little bit more if we wanted to. And then it was sort of January that we made the decision, like, we don't really want to have an end date on this. It's time now to start thinking about what we want to do. So that's when we decided to go online. And I think we never really realized like how easy it was to start a business, because the thing that had held us back actually takes me back to being in Nepal. The thing that held us back is that we felt like you needed to have an amazing idea, an amazing product. Probably a physical product was what we were always thinking of to be able to be an entrepreneur. Like, you need to be Jeff Bezos, or you need to be Elon Musk, or I don't know, you need to have some crazy idea. And the reality is, when we started researching more and more the opportunities online, it's way easier to start your own online business than people think. It's just people don't realize like all of the ways that you can make money online, because it's, you know, it's a completely different world, at least to the one that we've been in previously. And what I was going to say about Nepal, because so we started thinking actually prior to January, like, oh, let's start a business. We can, find cool products when we're traveling and make a business out of that, cool products that don't exist in the West. But we still had that problem, like, well, how do we manage inventory? How do we manufacture? How do we ship? All of that stuff. And we were just thinking, oh God, it's so complicated. It's so complicated to start an online business, to start a business. And then, then we basically researched and found a way to get started online.
So tell us a bit about your business. So give everyone just a background of what you do.
Yeah, we're actually just going through a little bit of a shift in strategy right now, but so if you go to our Instagram, you'll probably see that the last 4 days has been very different to what we were doing before. We are, in essence, online marketers. So we market products for companies online, and either through network marketing or through affiliate marketing. And we also, in the future, will be producing our own courses to help people that want to get started in those industries. So we are in the process actually of creating that content and for those courses.
So that's quite interesting. So you take, so for example, take your podcast, for example. So say someone came to you and said, right, okay, I want you to market this. So would you push that then through ads and stuff like that, or would you just post about it on social media? How do you actually go about marketing it?
Yeah, I think we are open to use anything. The podcast is a platform in the end. So the podcast is, you can choose, if you grow your podcast, you can choose whether to have standard ads, many people have, or you can actually use it as a platform to deliver your products, to sell your products or to sell your affiliates. They are all there actually. If you listen to other podcasters, some of them they just follow that route. And I think that's what we want to follow up. It's a platform, and we want to somehow advertise the products that we feel our audience would like. So we want to have control of what we want to advertise, rather than someone telling us, oh, this is what you need to do. And also using social media as well. We are using currently Instagram a lot, but it's also, Instagram is more like a way of marketing more than you sell the products directly there. It's a way of promoting your life and just showing people what you do on a daily basis and the skills that you have, and then you just take them to somewhere else, probably email list or something else. But it's more like showing what you can do, rather than selling the products on the platform.
Yeah. I think what we're really keen to do is just show people all the possibilities that are out there. If you look at affiliate marketing, and I think this is a big mistake in the Instagram world, specifically as people say, oh, when you've got X amount of followers, you can make money through affiliate marketing. You can't make that much money through affiliate marketing if what you do is post links in Instagram. The reality is Instagram doesn't, if you look at the amount of followers you have, Instagram is only showing your posts to around 5% of your followers. So that's your first problem. You don't control out of those 5% who they show it to. In addition, you don't know if that product links to that 5%. And the other issue is not many brands actually pay people very much money to market through affiliate links on Instagram, because they don't need to, because there are so many people with big accounts that are willing to stick affiliate links up. It's very competitive, so they don't need to pay people a lot. So we do have affiliate links that we could promote through Instagram, but we choose, because we want to make it a sustainable and big business, to do everything through sort of automated methods. So ads in social media are the way to do that, or you can use Google ads and things like that. Yeah. But if you want something a sustainable business, you need to automate as much of your process as possible. And like Alvaro said, content is a way of marketing you and your expertise to your audience. But yeah.
Awesome. So travel. So when you decided to leave, where did you go first?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, yeah. We just flew from Madrid to Colombo, which is Sri Lanka capital. Yeah, it was amazing. Such an amazing country. Beautiful place, has everything, ticks all the boxes. So if someone wants to go there, I cannot recommend that country. No, I mean that was amazing. And we also rented a tuk-tuk. So we drove 6 weeks through Sri Lanka with our own tuk-tuk, which was amazing, an amazing experience. Very comfortable as well. So we're carrying our bags there.
Well, very comfortable for me. I was lying in the back of the tuk-tuk with the bags, and whilst Alvaro was driving. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Who was driving? So what was it like? What was it like driving?
Yeah, it's fine. You need to understand that there is like there's like a ladder. So the tuk-tuks are going on the left next to the motorbikes, and then you kind of move from there because then there are the cars and the buses, and they drive like maniacs. But absolutely maniacs. So you just need to understand the rules. That you just go slowly on the left, don't do anything, don't overtake anyone, and that's it. And if there is a bus coming, you just need to move away. They are not going to stop. They are not going to do anything. They don't care. But it's really fun. It's just once you get used to it, it's actually really comfortable. Doesn't go really fast. So
would you say that's your worst driving experience? Doing that, being there, or your best?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Yeah, no, it was fun. It was.
We've even thought about, we did it in India as well. So then from Sri Lanka, we went to South India, and the company that we rented the tuk-tuk from in Sri Lanka also has them in South India. So we did it again. We were even thinking, like, when we finally like settled somewhere in Europe, we might even buy our own tuk-tuk and drive ourselves around. But then we're thinking how embarrassing we'll be when we have kids and we drop the kids off at school in the tuk-tuk. They'll be like, oh no, my parents are so embarrassing. Like, yeah, that's what we want. No, we absolutely loved it. But there was sometimes that it was like a bit scary, I remember, because in the middle of Sri Lanka, it's extremely hilly, and the climate like completely changes from being like hot and sort of, yeah, like tropical to getting quite cold and rainy. And I remember like going up some quite steep hills, like winding hills into Ella, and absolutely torrential rain coming down. Yeah. And you like trying to like rev the tuk-tuk up enough to make it up the hills at the same time, like can't really see because there's rain coming in. Of course, they're like open at the sides as well, so you're just getting like completely soaked. But it was an amazing experience, and I think a totally different way to see a country. Again, like it comes down to that like freedom thing. Like we could just go wherever we wanted.
And it's also the locals absolutely loved it. I mean, seeing two white guys driving a tuk-tuk, which is it's the vehicle that they use when they're really poor, or it was like they were shocked. They were like, sometimes they were like looking at us, taking pictures, laughing, smiling, waving. It was a really good experience.
Yeah.
Did you pick anyone up? Did you get any fares?
No, we should have done it because there were people like sticking their thumbs out. And then when they saw us drive past, they'd sort of like look and then laugh, like. But yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't actually have enough space, to be fair. Like, with two like big backpacks, we massively overpacked for the trip and carried around way too much luggage for 7 months. All of that was in that back of the tuk-tuk. Yeah.
So from Sri Lanka, did you just go straight to India? Was that your next stop?
Yeah, we just went to Kerala, that's a southern region of India. We've been both to India before. Not that I'm saying that means we've ticked the boxes, because India is an absolutely enormous country. But we extended in Sri Lanka because we loved it so much, and then we had a date that we needed to be in Nepal because we were going to be trekking to Everest Base Camp, which meant the time that we could spend in India was relatively limited. So we just did 10 days in Kerala, which for us it was enough. It wasn't our favorite place that we went on our travels. It wasn't our but we love the food in India a lot, and there's parts of Kerala that were beautiful. But it was very similar to Sri Lanka.
Very similar to Sri Lanka. So then coming from Sri Lanka and going to Kerala, it was roughly the same. The food was, particularly in the north of Sri Lanka and south of India, is very similar as well. So it was like going to a really similar place. Yeah. So that's why when we went to Sri Lanka, we were like shocked. The place was beautiful, the climate, the food, and everything. And then going back to India, to the south of India, was like, okay, it's similar.
Yeah.
So you went on to Everest. Now, I've seen a bit of this on your Instagram.
Yeah.
I do quite a bit of hill walking. right? My
Yeah.
wife is a fanatic with walking now, especially over the last 6 months. She's been crazy into it. We done quite a lot before we got married a couple of years ago. And then it's like you do all that exercise and stuff like that, drop all that weight for the wedding, and then you get married and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to stop that now. So,
Yeah.
but now we're back into it. My little girl, she loves it as well. She races us up the hills. But yeah, Everest is just a complete, it's a whole different ball game. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Wow. I think still to date, like the most amazing experience we've ever had in our lives.
It's the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, by far. It is just amazing. It's so different. So you land in, what is it, Lukla?
Lukla, yeah.
Lukla, it's 2,500 meters. It's like 6,000 feet, I think.
The most dangerous runway in the world. Yeah, sorry.
And yeah, it's green everywhere. It's beautiful. The colors, everything is green, everything is blue. It is such a beautiful place. Like it took our breath away, I think.
Yeah, you think you've seen greens and blues and colors in nature before. Everything is just like insanely bright and it's so clean. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the sky look like that.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And such an amazing challenge. Like, for me, it's kind of like a personal thing I've always wanted to do. So my granddad did the same trek in 1993 when he was 70. So at the time, he was the oldest Briton to do Everest Base Camp. And it was something I remember, I guess I was like 5 or 6, and I remember going to pick up my granddad from Kathmandu Airport. Not from Kathmandu Airport, sorry, from Heathrow Airport, but he'd landed from Kathmandu. And I just remember like the whole family just being like so proud of him. And I think it was just something I'd always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Completely different when he did it, because I read some of the postcards that he sent to my granny, and in 93 my 70-year-old granddad was doing that trek with sleeping in a tent in a blizzard. There was nothing like on the route, it was completely like the Sagarmatha National Park, which is the where you trek through for 2 weeks, didn't have anything, right? Now you do it and there's souvenir shops, there's cafes, there's lodges. We didn't sleep in a tent once, and we were very lucky with the weather. It didn't rain, it didn't snow, nothing. And we were in lodges with fires and everything like that. It was still very cold, but we had all these luxuries. I mean, there's even the world's highest Irish bar on the Everest Base Camp trekking route now. So if my granddad could see my photos now, or I could tell him about that experience, I don't know how shocked he would be, how much it's changed since 1993. But yeah, it was amazing and a fantastic challenge as well. It was difficult.
It's quite challenging.
How physically demanding was it?
It was more, I think it was more the altitude more than anything else. As soon as you cross the barrier of 4,500 meters, is when you start like getting a bit more tired, when you start like breathing with more difficulties, and then it takes you more time to get to sleep. Then you lose your appetite as well. Slowly you are getting into this cycle of you are not eating enough, you are not drinking enough water, you are not sleeping enough, then you are getting more tired. So it's more, I think it's more the air than the lack of oxygen. In the end, it's walking 15 days. Okay, you walk for like 5 hours. So, you train, you are used to walking. It's okay. It's not like a big challenge, but it's when you reach that point after like 7 days, when you just pass that barrier of like 4,000 meters, that it's just getting more and more challenging. And it also gets less beautiful, because you go from those green and rivers and amazing to there is nothing after 4,500 meters, like literally nothing, no animals, no plants, nothing. So it gets more like challenging in a way because it's less beautiful and there is nothing to do.
Yeah, it's the fact of like that then you start to get close to Everest Base Camp, which really keeps you going. But that night after doing Everest Base Camp, which was amazing, you know, taking photos and blah, blah, blah. That night, or even not that night, pretty much the minute we turned our backs on Everest Base Camp and started walking back towards the lodge where we were going to be spending that night, was where like the energy was just gone. The headaches were like multiplied, and we were just like, we just want to get down now. Like, we're not feeling really well. I think, especially me, that night was such a bad headache. And I think one of the, like, you don't realize like how high you are or how your body really reacts to that kind of altitude. I think people always think like, obviously Everest Base Camp's become very popular, which in a way makes it sound like it's easy and very safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it is necessarily particularly either. The altitude can affect, you know, different people in different ways. You know, there were people being helicopter rescued because they had severe altitude sickness. Off the mountain at the height that we were. In fact, the night before we went to Everest Base Camp, or the night before, somebody died in the lodge that we were staying. So people don't realize these things. And I'm not saying that's common, of course, that's just an awful thing, but altitude really can affect you, and it can be quite dangerous. So we were really lucky to be with like an amazing guide who talked sense into me when I was like, you know, very concerned that my headache was very, very serious. But it's good to be with somebody that knows like what they're doing. But it's definitely not something I think that people should like take the challenge on lightly, because more than the physical, like that, the altitude can affect you in crazy ways.
So did you guys, was base camp enough? Do you have ambitions to go back and maybe try it at the peak? Or?
No, I do not want to climb to the top of Everest. I think.
Yeah, I do want to. I want to do it. But yeah, I think I will probably try to do it probably at some point in my life. Yeah, it was like the feeling of being there. It was very nice. It was. Wow, this is actually it's very interesting, because from base camp you cannot see Everest, so you just completely lose the mountain. I think after day 9 or something like that, you just don't see it anymore. But I think it's just I think it could be a really good challenge. Apparently, is very demanding as well, because you spend 3 weeks. I think you spent 3 weeks in Everest Base Camp. We were there for like half an hour, and we were like, okay, we are ready to go. Because it's windy, it's cold. Like conditions are like tough there, so I cannot imagine spending 3 or 4 weeks there. But yeah, it's something that I have on my mind.
Yeah, I mean that's a proper climbing challenge, right? Like Everest Base Camp is a trek. Climbing Everest is, you know, proper climbing with ropes and crampons and you know, going over like crevasses with ladders. It's a completely different ballgame, and something that you have to be like really well trained to do, because that's incredibly dangerous, right? And I think there's like 2 days a year or 2 days each season that they can actually make it up. So like everybody is like racing to get to the top of Everest. I'm sure you or the listeners saw the pictures from the top of Everest last year with like the big queues and stuff. So yeah, it's quite crazy, but for me, definitely not. No desire to go to the top of Everest.
Would you do it if you could be airlifted in? And just
no, I don't see the point. No, I know that they're planning. It's a bit sad, but they're going to plan, I think, to start doing like helicopters to take people to base camp, or maybe they already do. If you have like loads and loads of money, rather than doing the trek to Everest Base Camp, you can be helicoptered. But to be honest, like,
takes away the experience.
Exactly, you need to do that's the whole point, right? You get to the highest peak or one of the highest places on Earth, and it's a journey to get there. But for sure, I would go back to. I think we've talked about going back to. We'll go back to Nepal when we can travel again. And we volunteered at an orphanage as well whilst we were in Nepal, so we want to go back there to see the kids. But we would like to also do another trek, maybe the 3 Peaks, 3 Passes, which is a little bit more challenging than base camp. So yeah.
The big one there, other than base camp, seems to be the Annapurna circuit. Is that another big one?
Yeah. Annapurna circuit is quite popular. We met somebody that had done like some of the Annapurna stuff. The thing that puts us off about Annapurna is not inside like a restricted national park. So apparently when you're doing parts of the Annapurna circuit, you're walking along the side of roads and there's like cars and lorries are coming past. Whereas when you do Everest Base Camp, you are literally in nature. Like the only transport is yak or porter. So that kind of puts me off about Annapurna a little bit, but yeah.
Okay. So you guys, you've done a bit of travelling with friends, you've done a bit of travelling together. What do you prefer?
Traveling
together.
Yeah.
100%.
So you've got a trip planned coming up, don't you, as well? And I think is it your dad you're going to meet, Olivia? Is it Japan?
Yeah, it's been cancelled. It's been postponed again. So
Oh.
when we recorded that episode, that was 2 months ago. It was just as things in Europe had started to open up, so it was, it was looking a bit positive for travel. We didn't know that everything was going to be closed back down again. We actually took one of the first flights out of London and came to Spain when things opened up. But so we were due to go to Japan originally in April. My dad and his partner were going to meet us during our trip. Obviously that didn't happen, so we pushed it back to September, October. And we just last week have had that cancelled as well. So that will now probably be next year. But of course, it's very difficult to plan anything now and predict like when we can go. But we'll be going at some point. But that will be when we commence our full-time travels again.
Well, I've got to say I'm extremely jealous because Japan's the top of my bucket list.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Definitely, it's just so different, the culture and everything. Have you guys you've been there before? Is it no?
No, never.
Right,
that we ask that they've been to Japan, they say like, I've never heard anyone say like, nah, I didn't like it, or yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea, or whatever. Every single person that has been there, they have told us exactly the same. The country is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Like 5-star review from 20, 30 different people. So
yeah. And we love Japanese food, especially me. Like I could eat Japanese food every single day, like sushi ramen, sushi ramen, sushi ramen. So for me, like so excited about that. So excited about that. But yeah, we'll just have to see. We don't know where we'll go first. So Japan will obviously probably be one of the first places if we can hopefully start again at the beginning of 2021.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to predict where we're going to go. And when.
So what's on your bucket list for Japan?
you organize that, right?
Eat ramen. eat ramen, eat sushi. So good question. I really want to do the driving the Mario Karts around Tokyo, no?
Yeah, there's so many cool things like driving the Mario Karts around Tokyo, going to sumo fights, right?
Yeah, sumo wrestling.
Sumo wrestling, and then
we'll see the cherry blossoms in Kyoto. That's when we're hoping to get there now, is the blossom season. We've also got the idea that if we can't get there by blossom season, which I hope we can, there's also the Olympics next summer.
Yeah.
Which probably won't have as many people traveling into as they would have done previously, so that could be an option. So that was something for the bucket list, I guess, would be to go to the Olympics. We want to, there's so many things. I'd really like to go to the North Island of Japan, Hokkaido. Every time we watch like a documentary about Japan, they always go there and it always looks super cool, it looks super different, very cold. But yeah, I think of definitely like just Japanese food. We watched Paul Hollywood's Man in Japan. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've not, but I've seen the James May one. I don't know if you've seen that, James May, Man in Japan. Yeah.
We have, so that was it. James May is Man in Japan. Paul Hollywood is something else. We've seen James May, and the Paul Hollywood one is like, Paul Hollywood's just pure food focused. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
He has to try like some, weird and amazing things.
No, I don't know what it is, right? But it's just when somebody says Japan, there's just something inside me that goes, I want to go to Japan. Absolutely. So, outside of travelling, and but just outside the travelling, what's your other passions? What else do you like to do?
We are really into fitness as well. So we were really into fitness before traveling. So we let ourselves go when we were traveling. It was very difficult actually to go for a run or to exercise while we were traveling. Which is, it is not a regret. We enjoyed a lot. Those cocktails by the beach and beers, but obviously, and then after lockdown with.
Yeah, I think lockdown was where it really escalated. I actually think that we both lost weight whilst we were traveling, just because the food in Asia is quite different. It's like rice and veggies and you know, you get a little bit of food poisoning here and there as well. So, you know, that helps. But so I think we actually came back skinnier but less fit, if that makes sense, because we were both really fit before, and then lockdown, coming straight back into lockdown, and of course, like, what do you want to look forward to every single day? Yeah, we made this amazing plan, like, oh, we got 30 minutes exercise, you know, we'll go out, like, I'm gonna get back into like marathon distance running and blah blah blah. Reality is, like, you're really, really fed up, the situation sucks, you really want to have a pizza and drink a bottle of wine, like. Yeah. So right now we've just started about 3 days ago, like a 90-day health and fitness challenge where we're trying to get ourselves, our minds and bodies, like, back into.
Awesome.
But that's a really big passion of ours. It's a bit tricky because the gym here is still, we're just outside Valencia right now. The gym here is still closed, but we've got an amazing friend who's training to be a personal trainer who's doing online sessions with us. We're doing a few other little bits and pieces as well. So yeah, the 90-day challenge is our focus outside of our business.
Well, I've just set myself a 30-day challenge. So I'm really bad for bread. So I started yesterday. Oh no, in fact, I started on the first. 2 days in, that makes it a wee bit easier. But I'm no bread, no salt, and no fizzy juice. That's my 3 things that I've said, like, no. And I think if I can do it for a month and then moderate it, you know, and that's the hardest thing, is moderation. It's so easy to say, right, I'm going to have this for my dinner, and then, oh, just have a wee slice of bread with it, or just before I go to my bed, I'll just have a wee bit of bread.
So, yeah.
It's not about small changes, actually. It's not like making like every other week and then just continue like that, and then the people say now that it takes like 21 days or 28 days to have, like, to make a habit part of your life. So it's just making a couple of small changes and just carry on. But yeah, it's very easy when we're in lockdown. It was really easy to let's go to the supermarket, let's get some of those German beers that I like,
and cookies, so many cookies,
and then
practicing your Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it was really challenging, and I think so many people are going to be in that same situation. So I know that we're not alone in dealing with that, like, post-lockdown feeling. But yeah, it's all about, like Alvaro said, like, making small changes. I think one of the biggest problems that people have when they go through these, like, times in their life is that they try to do too much, or even, like, cut out too much in one go. Like, you know, people going on these, like, extreme keto diets and stuff. Like, so I don't know. Quite easy to fail when you put yourself in such strict measures. It's all about making small changes, introducing new healthy habits. You know, one thing we've really struggled with, again, I'm sure everybody has, is getting enough steps in, because you're just not going to the places that you were going before. So all that natural walking is being taken out. So just trying to increase things like that, increasing consumption of water, how much we exercise. That's our focus right now.
Well, I've swapped out my fizzy juice. It's probably not. It's still not good, but I think I'm kind of hoping it's better than water. So I swapped out for Ribena. However, I've now finished my Ribena and I just use it for water. So I just top up my glass through the day, and you know, if I get through 2 of them a day, I'm quite happy. And I think that for me, that's the big challenge, is because I could quite easily before, I could have easily sat and, you know, had a 2 litre bottle of, like, Iron Brew, for example. That was my go-to drink, Iron Brew.
Very popular in Scotland.
Yeah.
Like this, bright orange drink. I don't even know what it has in it. And they used to make, I don't know, I remember when I was a kid, we used to get Iron Brew bars as well. Yeah. These, like, chewy bars that taste like a drink. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what flavour.
You can get it in Spain. You can get it in Spain.
I will. Yeah. I'm going to find.
Yeah, after we finish the 90-day challenge.
See, I'm nearly putting you off the challenge there. So, so these are heavy into fitness then. No, that's good. So back to the travel a bit more. So I know you guys said that you spoke about, Nepal and doing base camp. Would you say that's your most breathtaking moment on your adventures?
Yeah, I think both the experiences we had in Nepal, that and the orphanage, right?
Yeah.
So volunteering in the orphanage in addition to Everest Base Camp was another moment that completely changed our lives. And again, probably a reason that we've decided to start doing what we're doing. But we were with these kids for a couple of weeks and then we went back again after Everest Base Camp. And the orphanage was just an incredible place, so much nicer and better than we expected. The kids were so well looked after and we just created like amazing bonds with them. And it just really taught us as well, like how lucky we have been in our lives, like not only because, have, the support and love around us, but also the opportunities that we get in the West that we take so for granted. Like, reading like the kids' school books and the textbooks. I mean, they're in English and they don't even, make sense. Sometimes there's mistakes in the textbooks, but there's things like that. But more than that, the fact that these kids, and actually the kids in the orphanage were quite studious and most of them want to go to university, but it's that it's nothing is accessible for them. So one of the oldest boys wanted to go to university in Australia or something like, or in the States or in the UK, and it's just impossible. They just don't have the ability to come to the places that we go. They can't get grants, they can't get loans, they can't get scholarships. So the only way they can do it is by having bucket loads of money, which is not the case for most people in these countries. So we have that society where, you work hard and you make the decision to do what you want in your life. You can do it because there are means to be able to do it and you'll always be supported. Whereas they just don't have that support in the very backbone of their society. And that's one thing that we really want to make an impact on in the future, is to be able to help specifically kids in Nepal, because that's the country that we've had that experience, to actually get access to more opportunities and education and work experience and things like that, because otherwise they're just trapped in the place that they're in. And Nepal is a very, very difficult country because all they have is tourism and natural resources, so they don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really somewhere that, it's not something where if someone said to me, Nepal is underprivileged, it's not the first place I would think of, and I don't know if that's maybe through what's been drummed into me as a child growing up, is that, you look at Africa and, these what we deem third world countries, and I don't know if it's just maybe that's never changed as an advertising point of view, you know what I mean? Like, to me, I'd still think of the worst hit places as, like Africa, South Africa. You know what I mean? Like, growing up, that's what was, like Live Aid, Band Aid, all that kind of thing. It was all pushed for these countries, but never is it even keep in my mind that you think of Nepal as I don't want to say third world, but as a poor place, because you think of the tourism that they have, and to me I would think and that's just an outsider because I don't know, but the tourism and the costs that are involved for going to Everest, you would think that would then feed into their lives.
It's a very specialized kind of tourism. Mm-hmm. In the sense that it's only certain kinds of people that go, it's only certain kinds of people that can afford to go, so it serves a relatively small portion of Nepal's people. Mm-hmm. I'd say that it's actually, I think it's the poorest country in Asia, Nepal.
And the tourism is located in 3 areas, which is Kathmandu, because you need to fly to Kathmandu in order to go to other places, and then probably Pokhara and the Everest. Pokhara is because you do the Annapurna circuit from there, and then the Everest, and there's located, you have like 3 or 4 locations, but the country is really big. Mm-hmm. And not many people actually are living out of that.
Yeah.
So I think Yeah, I think as Olivia said, it's more the fact that we realized traveling, it was, wow, we have access to all these opportunities. Coming back home on a Friday to your flat in London and then start complaining because your boss or because whatever, or, traveling and going to these places, you put things into perspective. It's like, wow, why I was complaining about that when actually I can change my career tomorrow if I want to, because I can even go to another country in Europe and work in another country in Europe if I want to. It is like, it doesn't matter because they're going to have probably one opportunity in their life. That's going to be their job, and that's it. And no matter how hard they work, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to go to the next level. Really, really difficult. And then for us, it's, you can make a career change. You can study a master's in 1 year and then change your career completely within 18 months and make a living out of that.
Yeah, and actually, this is one thing that we didn't know, which we think that probably nobody, like a lot of people don't know. It's this, like Alvaro said, this ability that we have to be able to visit basically any country we want, right? Every country wants us to come and spend our money there. There was a couple that we met in Sri Lanka, and they were like, they had pretty decent jobs. He was working in a corporate in Colombo. Big corporate in Colombo, and they said to us, "Oh, we dream of coming to the UK." And I was like, "Well, why can't you come to the UK?"
Yeah.
Well, we need to have £10,000 cash in the bank account to be able to apply for the visa. £10,000 in a country like Sri Lanka is okay. That's difficult for us actually to have £10,000 in cash in our bank account, right? So that's the restrictions that they have to come to our country, and that £10,000 is worth so much more there than it is where we are. That's just to be able to come on holiday and visit. Or they need a sponsorship from a British person to basically say, like, I invite somebody and I take full responsibility for them when they come. That's the only options that they have to come and visit our countries. That, for me,
I didn't know that.
Crazy. And it was the same in Nepal. My uncle, he's a climber, and his company is a trekking company in Nepal, and one of his what's it called, the Sherpas, has taken my uncle every single year around Everest and takes their tour groups. He wanted to invite him over to spend Christmas in Sheffield, where my uncle is. And my uncle had to write a letter to the British Embassy to ask the permission to get the visa for him. That's the only way he would have been able to.
That's crazy. That's, you think about it, like, for example, for us going to America, you pay a couple of £1, you get your visa, you get checked when you go. Yeah. And I didn't know that. I know that people have problems with visas and things like that, but to have £10,000 in the bank account.
Yeah, no one even asked
for a holiday.
There wasn't a single country that we visited that I've ever been asked how much money I've got in my bank account. There's just an assumption there. So I think that really was like, again, like, we are so incredibly lucky. And we need to be really appreciative of that. Yeah,
absolutely. So going on, from your best moment you're traveling, all right? What's the worst moment? When has everything went wrong?
That's a good question. I think nothing really bad happened. We're very lucky. I don't think the worst thing that happened, like, during the travel was just when we got kicked off the bus in the wrong place in Myanmar and we got stuck at the side of the road. But I mean, it was resolved within about 20 minutes. So we were just like, the bus driver didn't understand why we were getting off at a different stop, and then he just made us get off. But probably, I think it was the way things ended in terms of coming back.
I think probably the worst moment was 2 weeks leading into coming back, when things were escalating in Europe. I think Spain went into lockdown as well, way before, 2 or 3 weeks before the UK.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wow, this is getting serious. So then it was like more, then you stop enjoying the trip. We just completely stopped enjoying, because then, okay, what shall we do? We stay in Cambodia, or we tried to go to Australia as well. So literally we were like on the website trying to buy tickets to go to Australia. And like 5 minutes before we were about to buy the ticket, the Australian government
closed the border.
So we're literally about to go to Australia. It's like, okay, we're going to lockdown. Let's go at least to Australia and New Zealand, where we know that you have like a healthcare system that actually works.
We have friends as well.
We have friends as well. So something happens, we are okay there. We are far from home. We are okay there. Whereas in Cambodia, we were like, there is a lockdown here. These people, we don't know how these people are going to react when tourism is gone and the only source of income that they have, they just suddenly is gone. So it was more that tension that the 2 weeks before we came back, like chasing different opportunities, chasing different options, like what are we doing? Shall we do this? Shall we do that? And then stop enjoying, and then
it was an anxious time, right? And I remember when we booked that flight back to London, like we were just both absolutely devastated because it was just not and I know that like that sounds, we haven't suffered a lot because of this situation. I don't want to sound like pity, like there's not a pity party whatsoever, because I know that there are people in like so much worse situations that we're in, but for us in the situation that we were in, like we were very sad that our own circumstances got changed like that.
Absolutely.
So that was difficult, but everything happens for a reason. You've got to look at like the positives. We were very lucky that we got to see Angkor Wat in Siem Reap with barely any other tourists.
Wow.
Apparently there's normally queues of hours to get into the main temple. We walked straight in and there's only about 4 other people there. So you have situations like that, and of course like we've come home and we've come back to Europe and we've managed to make like serious headway on our business. And again, if we'd have stayed traveling, probably we wouldn't have done that because we would have been busy enjoying our travels. So
have you seen any other of the wonders of the world? Any other of the 7 wonders?
Well, I don't know which ones the wonders are, because there's the natural wonders, the man-made wonders, there's all these different wonders, but it's just like the same with UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Everywhere seems to be one. I'm just trying to think, have we seen any of them? I don't know what they are. Machu Picchu, so yeah. We've seen Taj Mahal, yeah. I don't know about Iguazu Falls. Iguazu Falls may be in the border of Argentina and Brazil. I'm not sure if it is.
We're also actually lucky, so coming back to the bright side, that China went into lockdown as well in January and February. And usually February is the Chinese New Year. So you would be expecting like Thailand and Vietnam to be flooded by Chinese, like it would be packed.
Yeah.
And it was empty. I mean, Vietnam was empty. We were like the whole country. We were like really lucky that there's apparently like, when you speak to people like, how is Vietnam? Yeah, it's good, but it's it's full of tourists, particularly coming from China, because it's actually many people from that country to actually make an impact. So then in February, actually, Vietnam was empty. Hoi An, which is a beautiful city, but it got really touristic in the last few years, empty as well. So it was like the country was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you say. There's something special about having that all to yourself. You know what I mean? So like we went hill climbing. Again, it's not like having a country basically empty tourists where you're getting an authentic experience. But for example, we went hill climbing about 2 weeks ago, and we done the cobbler. So I guess one of these amazing viewpoints. It's a great bit to climb. And we left the house at like 3 a.m, and we were at the summit for I think around about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it was just the 3 of us, at the top of this amazing viewpoint. And it's just, you see that many pictures of it online. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend having a look at it. And if you're ever in Scotland, you need to give it a go, because it's an amazing climb. But it's just one of the moments where it's kind of surreal. You're standing there, nobody around. And at one point, I was mucking around with my drone. My wife and my wee girl, they started going back down, and it was just me and all these peaks around me. And it was like all the way up, it was just mist. And when you got to like the last maybe couple hundred feet, you just came out, and it was just an amazing day. And it was one of the moments where you're like, wow, you feel so insignificant compared to to what's on offer from the world.
Yeah, the Earth just has so many like magical places, and when you're in situations like that and you get to experience places on your own, the Earth is beautiful. That's, I guess, one of the reasons that we love to travel so much.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any travel regrets at all?
Yeah, I would have liked to stay longer in Myanmar.
Yeah, I think also more because we were supposed to travel for 18 months. So sometimes we were like, we stopped doing things because we were going to do something similar along the way. So we go to this temple. Well, you have seen like 20 temples already. We are going to go to Japan in a couple of weeks. Nah, it's okay. It's all right. We don't have to do it. So then sometimes we were in these situations like, nah, we are not going to do that because we are not going to go another time scuba diving because we are going to go scuba diving in Australia. Yeah, that's fine. But then obviously, then COVID-19 happened, and then all those plans that we have for the next 12 months, then they didn't happen. So we are like sometimes in a situation like, oh, I wish that day that we didn't do whatever. I wish we had done it because. So that was another lesson. It's like if you want to do something at some point, just do it because you never know what's going to happen in life.
Yeah. Awesome. And what do you guys want to gain for traveling? You have packed in the normal life, to what's the reason for that? What do you guys want out of the traveling?
That's very deep.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's like that understanding of what else is in our planet, in the sense of like, not just in terms of like the physical nature. I'd say that's secondary actually. It's more to do with like understanding how people live, ways of work, ways of people's living, like find like certain religions really fascinating, or understanding what people eat. It's basically just that exposure to see what else is out there, because I think if you understand that the Earth is bigger than you and your immediate surroundings and the way you've been brought up, then it opens your eyes to so many other things. And I think that's something we've definitely experienced when you see people living in a certain way or having different ways of life and being definitely happier, if not happier, than we are in traditionally in our society.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the fact that it's like completely opens your mind to other things and other possibilities.
Yeah, it's similar. Actually, it's one of the things that we realize is in the end we and they, we all want the same. You just want to look after your family, to have a decent life, whichever the standards you're used to, and that's what you want. I mean, and just traveling, and then you see all these families in Sri Lanka or Myanmar, and then all together just having lunch or having dinner, and it comes back to that. And it's sometimes, I think in the West, we are losing those values. We are losing the real thing, which is, the real thing in life is spending time with the people that you love and doing the things that you love, more than, I don't know, going to the pub or spending, hours and hours on Netflix or
well, I would say more than the pub, because of course we do love the pub and going to the pub together. But no, like even you see this like obsession with like, shopping and spending time in shopping malls and buying the brand new cars and buy like just this. It's become somewhat materialistic, I think, the way that our culture has moved. And I think that's one of the things that you see when you're traveling, is that that's not necessarily what brings people happiness, because you see people around the world with not much money and they're incredibly happy because they have the people that they love around them.
Yeah, awesome. So do you think you guys will settle eventually in like have you decided eventually you're going to settle in the UK, or you're going to settle in Spain, or are you open to, if you find somewhere that feels like home, are you open to moving abroad permanently?
Yeah, I think we are open. We've been discussing this for a while. Everything has pros and cons. The UK is Olivia's country, still as the UK. The only problem that I have with the UK is the weather. It's the only thing that I have. I'm just, I lived there for 11 years. I miss the sun. I miss, like being outside. That's something that, for example, in Spain, you can have it. Like really, the life is outside.
Yeah.
It's more than inside. But the good thing is we have 100% flexibility. So if one day we decided to, I don't know, to live in Bali, for example, or go to the US or whatever, apart from the classic restrictions of that you can have with the visa, whatever. But apart from that, we are completely 100% flexible. So I think it's the most exciting thing of working online, which is you can take it whatever. The only thing that you need is a relatively good internet connection.
Yeah.
And just have like a comfortable place. And that's it. That's the only thing you need. Apart from that,
yeah,
we can take it anywhere.
Yeah. So what's your biggest travel goal? Is there somewhere specifically you want to go? Do you want to visit every country? What's the biggest target for you guys?
Right now, it's just to get back traveling.
Anywhere.
Anywhere, right. I actually don't know. On paper, I mean, it looks cool to go to 190 countries or 200. I don't know. Lose track. 197. I wouldn't say it's like something I've really thought about. Like, oh, I want to go to every country in the world. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have personally. I don't have any specific goal. I just because every country is different. So if people go to every single country, it's like 200 countries. How many days are you gonna spend there?
Yeah.
I mean, we spent 6 weeks in Sri Lanka. We spent 6 weeks in every single country. That's a lot of time. So I personally prefer spending a lot of time in a country and like get to know the country and people and how they live and the history.
Yeah.
Than spending like a couple of days in one place and then moving around to another place and just rushing. So not a specific goal, just wherever we go, just enjoying and have fun.
Yeah, definitely. We want to get like Asia, as much of the countries in Asia, sort of all the ones that we had on our plan. I think we had planned 17 countries. We've done 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's 10 countries that we want to do there. Australia and New Zealand, definitely. New Zealand just looks incredible.
Yeah.
Weather looks a bit like the UK though, so yeah. But besides that, no real plans. Like there's a few countries that you definitely want to visit at some point, and all those countries we'll visit at some point, I guess.
Awesome. So the next part of the podcast is before I speak to any travellers, I tell my little girl a little bit about them, who they are, what you kind of do, and she gives me a travel question for you guys, or just a question. It doesn't have to be a travel question, she just gives me a question. So the question she's given me for you guys is, what is the weirdest thing that you have eaten?
Oh.
We've got 2. Can we give you 2? They're both in Vietnam.
Yeah. Go for it.
So the first one, which is the funny one that we actually enjoyed it, was crickets.
All right.
So we went to a cricket farm in Vietnam as part of one of these tours where they like take you around like different places in the city. We went to the cricket farm straight after going from the coffee place where the weasels had pooed out the coffee beans. But that wasn't that weird. The crickets was weird. I definitely didn't want to have them. They were on a plate and they were like seasoned with like lemongrass and chili.
They were really tasty.
And I saw Alvaro's face and he ate it and his face looked like very pleasantly surprised. And I was like, oh, well. And then there was like a lot of other people around the table and everyone else was kind of like trying them and the expression was positive. So that was, yeah, they were really nice. So they actually tasted a bit like similar flavour to like calamari, I would say. A bit crunchier, but very tasty. So if you ever get a chance to eat crickets.
That was a good experience.
The bad experience was in Vietnam, we hired a motorbike to drive to a place called the Phong Nha National Park. And we had just stopped visiting some of the like war tunnels. We were super hungry. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's about 2:00 in the afternoon, and Vietnam is one of these countries that things like they just close, like restaurants aren't open all day, like they just close and they eat quite early. So we were driving and we could just see like all these restaurants, and we were like stopping off in the bike. I was jumping in. Is anybody here? I mean, there's never anyone there even. So like, okay, this place isn't open. We found a place at the side of the road that the woman looked very happy to have us. Like, oh yes, come in. She didn't say that, she couldn't speak English. And then we sat down, and there's no menu or anything. So she just sort of like said something to us. We're of course like, yes. And she brings out this plate of basically, it doesn't sound as bad because you eat them like people in the UK eat them as well. It was noodles covered in eel. But these eels were like very skinny eels that looked a bit like what, I mean, I probably wouldn't eat eel anyway, but they were like fried and they looked like slow worms. You know, like the thick silver worm. So we had this plate of food in front of us and we're so hungry. And we're the only people in the restaurant because I'm pretty sure she was actually closed. She just like told us to come in. And so we're there. She's like standing there, like watching us eat, like with this big face. And I just like both of us, I remember like just eating it like as quickly as we could just to get rid of it. And then the entire like being like, oh, thank you. Not only did she feed us eel, she also completely ripped us off and charged us around 4 times the price for that meal than we paid for any meal in Vietnam, even in like the capital city. And we were like literally in the middle of nowhere in like a village. It's like, it definitely wasn't that much money. And yeah, we jumped on the back of the bike and both of us were just like, our tummies like gurgling, like, oh my God, I feel so sick. So sick. It was almost like you could feel the worms. Oh, it was horrible. And they might have been worms and not eels. It was horrible, right?
Yeah, it was and actually they were cooked, I think they were cooked with garlic, so they were really like really strong flavors. So then, you know, we were driving the motorbike and the flavor was coming back all the time. So like 2 or 3 hours that we were on the motorbike, it was like we couldn't brush our teeth or anything either. So yeah, it was like a few hours of enjoying the flavors of Vietnam.
But I would say Vietnamese food in general is
amazing.
Incredible.
It's incredible. But apart from that, a specific time.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing about Vietnam. So which is
So after that, the next part is what I like to call story time. All right. So this is kind of like your go-to travel story. So what I want you to do is to tell us about a journey, all right, or like, you know, one place, an adventure, just something that you want to share with us in as much detail as possible. You know, things that you did when you were there, food that you were eating, or even just like somewhere you think that someone should visit at least once in their life, that kind of thing. Or it could be even just a funny travel story.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think if we talk about Myanmar, because Myanmar is a place that's not so discovered by tourists yet. I think we felt very privileged to visit Myanmar because it's only been open for tourism for a couple of years. You still can't visit actually a lot of the country, but you can visit like parts of it. And for both of us, I think it was the first time in Asia that we arrived at like what we felt like was really East, right? It was the first time that I've not been to China, so I have no idea what China looks like, but things started looking to what I imagined things in China looking like. There was just all these new like sights and smells, bright lights everywhere, gold everywhere. So we started off in Myanmar in Yangon, which is the former capital of Myanmar when Myanmar was Burma. And I remember, so we went to this street called 19th Street, which is a street with like restaurants, busy with locals, also with tourists, because it's become sort of like this famous, it's just an area that the people of Yangon, they congregate. We were eating typical food in in Yangon was to go up to the shelf and you pick out like skewers of meat and skewers of vegetables and you give it to the waiter, and then they cook it and they come back with it. The food in Myanmar, I'd say in general, is nothing to write home about, I would say.
You're not the first person I've heard to say that. So.
Yeah, the food is okay. It's okay. There was some the Shan food is good, but otherwise we didn't have like particularly good experiences with food. But there's just that night on the street, a lady walked down the street with a blind lady with her child, and she was singing. They were asking for money, and I've never ever heard a voice like that in my life that I can't even describe. Like, it was so beautiful, but also so like different and quite haunting, that I think we both just got like these goosebumps. And it's like a sound that will stay in my mind like forever. And I don't know what it was about her voice, but it was so incredible and so different. And it made us feel like both quite emotional, I think, when we heard her sing. So
I would definitely go back to 19th Street just to see you actually see her again.
Myanmar for us was just so different, I think, to anywhere that we've been before. Very different culture. Very beautiful, very lovely people, contrary to what we read online. We had read that like, oh, people might not be that friendly towards you, blah, blah, blah. Completely the opposite.
I think it will be, in the next few years, it will be the #1 destination. I mean, as soon as they sort things out with this parliament that they have, the problems that they have, few years, Myanmar will be the #1 destination, because the country is absolutely beautiful and it has absolutely everything as well. Amazing beaches. We didn't go, but apparently it has amazing beaches, and then the places that you can visit is absolutely amazing. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next 2 or 3 years it will be the kind of like Lonely Planet top 1, top 3, the classic, no, like Sri Lanka was in 2017 or 2018.
So the new Bali.
No, I would say we've not been to Bali, but I would imagine a bit different to Bali. I think Bali's more that like hipster tourist, very much like digital nomad sort of scene, and I think Myanmar is a bit more like I don't want to say authentic, because I can't say that Bali's not. I've not been, but Myanmar doesn't have like a tourist scene as such right now. They're not catering to Western tourists, which is for me what made it so great, because you couldn't find like your most places that you travel now in Southeast Asia, you find things from home. Like I see my friends in Bali, and you can have like your avocado on toast and pizza and all that stuff. Like you just can't get that in Myanmar, and I think that's what makes somewhere special. Is before, and don't say ruin it, because we like it when we go to countries, and when we go to Thailand we're quite happy to have some, like home comforts, but Myanmar hasn't got a single ounce of that yet.
So, thank you very much. So there's 2 more things to go through with you guys. All right, are you okay for time?
Yeah. Around 10 more minutes, I think it's fine.
Perfect. So I've got a couple of questions from Instagram. I'll just give you a couple of them, and then there's a bit of a travel couple quiz that I do to test every travel couple that I have on. So I'll give you just 2 questions from Instagram. So the first one is, what do you miss most when you're traveling?
You miss bread, yeah.
The bread it was fine in Vietnam and Cambodia. I don't even eat bread that much. It was just like you just couldn't get like bread that tasted half decent in Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Myanmar. That was just like white bread that tasted like sugar. It didn't taste like bread from home, and the same with the butter. So for me, something really simple, bread.
Yeah, I think it's weird. It's like when you're traveling full time, you start like missing things that you didn't miss before. I miss my bed for like couple of nights. Like I would like to have the bed that we had and the pillow that I had. So it comes down now to really basic things sometimes.
Yeah. now we haven't had our own bed in over a year. Yeah, 14 months it's been since we last slept in our own bed, because we still don't have a place because we're waiting to travel. So now I think we got really comfortable now with being in like random beds and random bedding, and but you definitely you miss that something.
And do you take one thing with you? So what I think the meaning is, like, is there one thing that you carry with you at all times, like something special, like a memento kind of thing?
Well, I have the thing that my mum gave me when we left to go traveling. My mum gave me a little key ring to put inside my bag, which comes with me, which has like a, can't remember what it says on it. It's really bad. Has like a nice message, like connecting to home. I know that it's always there, and that's like my connection to home. She also gave us some t-shirts that we wore quite a lot when we were traveling. At least we wore them in bed. Alvaro and Olivia's journey around the world. Something like this.
Some free advertising there.
Yeah. To be honest, like most of the stuff that we carry is like completely pointless, and that means a lot to us. We were very conscious to not really take things that we would feel sad if we lost, or so we.
No, you there? Hello?
Right.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, I lost the tail of that, so you did want to take things we use that you may lose.
Oh, just said that we always take like way too much stuff with us, but just nothing important, basically.
In case we lose it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you to Instagram for the questions. So this is the last bit. Now, see if one of you take your headphones off, can you hear me through the laptop? Wait, no, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, okay. So what I need is one of you then to, so basically what happens is, I'll ask one of you the questions, right? The other one is then got to guess your answers.
Okay.
So you can pick who does what.
You guess the answers.
Okay. All right.
So, Alvaro, I'll need you to leave for a couple of minutes, so you can't hear our answers.
Okay, you need to go outside then, because that's the only place you can't hear me.
Yeah.
No cheating.
Yeah, because we don't have much soundproofing here.
Right, you let me know when he's out.
Yeah, he's gone.
Right, okay. So, when you're travelling, what is your travel essentials? What must you have with you? It could be one thing, it could be a couple of things.
Laptop and phone.
Laptop, phone, okay. What is the name of your hometown?
Winchester.
Winchester.
Yeah, but he might say London, because I grew up in between London and Winchester, so you've got to give him that as well.
Okay, I'll give him it if he says that. What's your favourite food?
Such a hard question, because I have like 5, so I don't know if he'll. I would say like Indian, like Indian food. Okay. He might say like dal or something like that.
Right. What's the favourite country you visited?
Sri Lanka.
Did you go on that train that everyone goes on for that picture?
Yeah, we only took it for like 10 minutes just to do the bit like that goes over the bridge. We didn't make the really long journey because we had the tuk-tuk, so it didn't make any sense.
Right. How do you relax when you're travelling?
By going to a bar.
Okay. What is your favourite song or artist?
Oof. I mean, I don't even know the answer to that one.
You're not a music person?
Yeah, but I just don't have like a favourite. He'll never get. Well, we'll go Florence and the Machine.
Okay.
And favourite song, I'm gonna go with one by
You don't have to give me. You don't have to give me both. You can give me just like a song or artist.
Right, Machine, yeah.
What is your favourite drink?
Red wine.
Okay. Your favourite movie?
I'm also like not really big on movies. Favourite movie.
This is why these questions are so perfect for travellers.
Huh?
This is why these questions are so perfect for travellers.
Let's go Bridget Jones, because we've just watched all three of them back to back in the last couple of days, and I've seen it so many times, so I must like it.
Okay. Favourite TV show or season that you've watched?
Oh, I know, I have one as well, and I can't even think of it. The one that's in my mind isn't the right one.
What was it about?
I can't remember. You know, sometimes when something's like in the front of your mind, but it's not there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nearly coming. No, I don't know. I'm going to say Billions, but that's not even the right answer. So we'll see if he gets it right and reminds me what it is.
What is it?
Billions.
Billions.
Yeah.
I've seen that one.
It's Sky.
Is that the one with the rock?
No, it's got. I'm really bad on these kinds of things. I don't know the guy's name. Damien Lewis.
And can you speak any other languages?
No.
No. Right, that's us. 10 questions.
Okay. I'm going to get him. 1 second. It's very difficult, so.
Hello. So how are you feeling?
Confident.
Confident. Okay. So I cannot remember, right? Because I need to go back, because I've been saying forever that I'm going to make a leaderboard, and I've not done it yet. So I can't remember if the leaders are on 9 or 10 out of 10. All right. So if we get a 9, I think you're in there.
We won't be on 9, but we'll the leaderboard, yeah.
All right.
They have 9.
9 out of
10.
Wow.
So all of the questions are based on Olivia, all right? And you've got to answer it the way she would.
Okay.
Okay?
Exactly what you said.
So, number 1, what is Olivia's travel essentials? What must she have with her?
Obviously her phone. The treasury that you carry from your mom. Eh? Okay.
What was that?
I would say that. I would say her phone, the thing that she always carries, that is coming. That the mom gave it to her.
I'll give you it. She said phone. That's in there. I'll give you it.
I said phone and computer, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll give you it. Number 2, what's Olivia's hometown? What's the name of her hometown?
What's that, sorry?
What's the name of Olivia's hometown?
Oh, Winchester.
You said they would say London.
No, I said I wasn't sure. Yeah. I don't know if I was born in London. I don't know.
Oh, you got it though. You got it. 2 out of 2.
Yeah.
See, you weren't confident, and we're 2 out of 2. Number 3. What is Olivia's favourite food?
Sushi or ramen.
Oh, she said Indian. Indian food.
Is it Indian?
Oh, really? You
Yeah.
like Japanese more than Indian?
No, that's why I didn't really know what to say, because I was going to either say pizza, sushi, ramen, or Indian. So you got one of. They are my 4 favourite foods. I don't have a preference for one or the other. I was thinking of dal.
No matter. We can still get there. What is Olivia's favourite country that she's visited?
Sri Lanka.
Fine. 4. Oh no, wait, no, 3, sorry. 3 out of 4. When Olivia is travelling, how does she like to wind down and relax? What does she like to do to relax? Or how does she relax when travelling?
If she has the option, she will go to the pool. Yeah.
Oh, I said go to the bar.
I was waiting to see if he was going to say the pool bar or something.
Oh, yeah, the pool bar. The swim up bar.
What is Olivia's favourite artist and the musical artist?
Oof.
No, I'll be fair to you. This one she said was difficult because she doesn't really have a favourite.
Yeah.
Can I give him a clue?
All right, I'll give you a clue.
We went to the concert last year.
I went with you to the concert.
Yeah. Don't remember the concert.
Oh, Florence and the Machine.
Okay. What is Olivia's?
I can't remember that concert.
I wonder if it's got anything to do with this next question. So, what is Olivia's favourite drink?
Apart from water, right? So we take water out of the equation.
Yeah, take one out.
Well, we said red wine.
Yes. What is her favourite movie?
Ooh.
I didn't know the answer either. You've got to guess from my guess.
Yeah. I mean, she really likes Disney, so I would always go for a Disney
True.
movie. But she just said true, so she didn't say anything. Disney movie, which is it's always. I had to watch every single Disney movie because of this reason, and now she hasn't picked any Disney movie. I have no idea, so I'm gonna go for one that we watched a couple of days ago, which is Bridget Jones, just to say something.
Hang on.
Well done. You got it.
And that's why I said. But now, on reflection, my favourite movie is The Lion King.
There you go.
It's amazing how difficult it is to actually think about something when someone asks you. It's like, oh, what is my favourite?
Yeah.
It's reflection is a brilliant, or hindsight, as they say, is a wonderful thing. Right, what is Olivia's favourite TV show or season?
Okay, I didn't know the answer. I made it up.
I would go again for something that we are watching. We have recently watched Modern Family.
Is that what you were thinking of?
So, like,
Oh, okay. All right.
there's actually another series that I think that we've both really, really enjoyed, and I can't remember what it is. That we were like, we couldn't wait for the next episode.
Mrs. Mason.
Oh yeah, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is brilliant.
I've not seen that.
Very good. Amazon
Really
Prime.
fun.
Yeah, great.
What was it called?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
I'll give it a watch. What's it about? Is it good?
Yeah, it's very good. It looks like it's going to be really girly, but it's not. It's about a woman in the 1950s that becomes a female comedian, which is very unusual in the 50s. It's very, very, very funny.
Awesome. And the last question.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we've got so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going for 7. 7 out of 10. Which is not the lowest score we've had. I can tell you that. Which is still good. Can Olivia speak any other languages?
It depends.
But you know the answer.
Well, the answer is no.
There we go.
Yeah, you said that you can't kind of like speak French.
No, I
Yeah?
don't speak French. No, I can speak more Spanish than I can speak French.
Yeah, that's like saying I can speak Spanish. And my Spanish is pretty much hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah, no, it's very fun.
And also like little funky words like words that I'll never use if I'm in Spain, like mechanical. That's you know. So yeah, so that's probably the extent of my Spanish. Awesome. So we got, what did we say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 10.
I think 7's pretty good.
I think 7's good.
Especially when I can know the answers to the questions myself.
So you were fighting a losing battle.
Say again?
You were fighting a losing battle before you even started.
Yeah.
Awesome. So listen guys, that's everything I have for you today. I can't thank you enough for coming on the Static Traveller podcast. For everyone that's watching or listening, that you know maybe wants to follow your journey, where can they find you? You know, what social media platforms do you have?
Yep. So we're on Instagram and it's We Are Alvaro and Olivia. And our podcast, we are now, I think, about to come out with episode 10 next week, which is the Travel Revolution podcast, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the other podcast places. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, brilliant. I'll put all the links in the description below if you guys are looking for Olivia and Alvaro's media, as well as their Instagram and their podcast. I would definitely recommend it to give it a check it out. Just to remember, if you're enjoying the Static Traveller podcast as well, hit us a subscribe on YouTube, because this is now a video podcast. So we've just started this. You guys are like the 4th people that I've had on for video. So we're on episode 22 now. So give us a subscribe. You know, tell us in the comments below what you thought of it, and yeah, don't forget to give us a follow on Instagram, a wee like on Facebook, and what is it, a follow on Twitter? I'm just new to Twitter, so I'm brand new to it. So I'm still figuring my way around that one. But listen guys, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And until the next time, you guys keep travelling and I'll stay static. Thank you.